This is Dr. Crespo, Mr. Oliver Crespo. He's a clinical psychologist in Bronx, New York. He usually diagnoses, he treats mental, emotional, and behavioral disorders. He's a clinical psychologist who helps people to deal with problems ranging from short-term personal issues to severe and chronic conditions. Dr. Crespo, he interviews patients, gives diagnostic tests, provides psychotherapy, and can design behavior modification program to help patients. Dr. Crespo also is an associate professor in social work at Hostel Community College in Bronx, New York. He used to be my professor from 2017 to 2018. And right now we are working together under the same organization in a preventive agency affiliated with ACS CPS, who is Child Protective Services, in which we are currently working with at-risk families and children.
Well, thank you for that introduction.
You're welcome.
Okay.
So
Thank you.
is there anything else you would like to add, Dr. Crespo?
Just two things. Well, I'm a professor of psychology for CUNY, and I teach at Hostos. But my specialty is really psychodiagnostic, where I administer psychological tests to determine diagnosis and determine proper treatment course to take. Prior to becoming a clinical psychologist, I obtained an MSW from NYU, and I'm a licensed clinical social worker as well. And I also have a master's in clinical psychology before my PhD. And I've been practicing for the past 25 some years, okay? So if you have any questions, I do a lot of expert witness testimony in relation to foster care and adoption cases for two major organizations, okay?
All right, nice. So we each have
Very nice.
questions for you. Are you ready?
So we have a few questions for you. I will do the first half,
Okay.
and Alicia will do the second half. So the first question that I have is, what are
Wait,
your
Marley, let me start with the introduction first.
Okay, so we're going to introduce ourselves?
No, I already introduced you guys.
Okay.
So thank you, Dr. Crespo, for agreeing to be part of this project on how gender justice and gender equality can be expedited to create more equality in support of women. Please note that the project is solely for academic purposes and your responses will be treated as confidential. With your consent, we proceed with the interview.
Okay, go right ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So the first question is, what are your perceptions of gender equality?
Okay, that is a big question, but to summarize it, gender equality is the same as racial equality. So in other words, we are looking at, we cannot assign values in terms of pluses or minuses to any one individual based on their gender, be it male, female, or other. So in reality, gender equality refers to really a neutral with an understanding that there are significant differences between gender in relation to male, female, and others. And those are biological, genetic, and that in itself does not qualify for something better or worse. So everyone, regarding their gender or racial or ethnicity, there is no value, judgment, or assignment that could be placed on that. Okay,
Okay.
Thank you.
you.
Thank you. The second one is, what's your experience with gender equality and how did it make you feel?
well, unfortunately, uh, gender equality, like many things in this country, becomes institutionalized, and gender inequality has been a very pathological part of the institutional system, which for some reason sees one gender better than the other. My experience has been that, unfortunately, based on the value judgment, assigning a positive or negative value to a gender, tends to lead to people falling back and not becoming competent enough, but depending basically just on their gender, which is also something that occurs with racial equality. Okay.
That's right.
Okay. The third one is gender equality of concern for both men and women?
Absolutely. And if it is not, it should be, because we are looking at where it's at the same level. In other words, it's like being a parent. A mother that says, I love my children the same is not a good mother, because children are different. That does not mean that you love one more than the other. A male will always be different from a female and others. Yet one is not better than the other. So that should be of concern, and has been of concern throughout history in various different cultures, because we do have cultures that are matriarchal in origin, and tend to value and highlight certain aspect of one sex versus the other. So it should be of concern.
I love the comparison of a mother loving the two kids with the way you use it for that one. That's very
Okay.
Nowadays, there are a lot of people who usually be using that comparison.
uh-huh. What are we missing by not maximizing the talents of both genders?
We are definitely missing, and I think it's highly important for your group to focus on these issues, because this has become an institutional problem. This is a problem of a capitalistic society that, for some reason, has assumed, I don't know where it came from, that male will be better than female. Therefore, in terms of economics, the male counterparts tend to earn more money than female, but within the same job performance. So this is really an institutional problem that needs to be addressed institutionally. And I think that you guys are a great example of that. Great example.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay.
What are the barriers to achieve gender equality?
The barriers, unfortunately, we've had many barriers and regressions, especially in the prior administration, which the barriers basically are political and institutional in nature.
And what is the biggest barrier to gender justice and equality?
It is institutional, if I put it in one word. It really needs to be based on functional, and people should be judged on their functionality, how they function and how they're able to perform within their given field or area of expertise. Okay.
That's right.
Okay, so I'll be asking you a couple questions too.
Okay.
What aspects of gender equality should be addressed across the world?
Many. Uh, uh, but to begin with one, and the one that is most salient, is the issue of compensation. And this is something that should be addressed throughout the world. When we look at gender equality, obviously, we have significant differences between different cultures, which have embedded beliefs. We have significant differences based in socioeconomic countries. And this becomes a major issue that should be of concern for the world, taking into account and respecting ethnical, religious values and so forth, okay?
Okay. What will you suggest to companies to address the gender divide and women presentation?
Most important, achievement. Achievement and performance, which many institutions have begun to do that and initiate it. For instance, this is a major issue with major institution in New York, the Board of Education, CUNY, where you really need to address, and you really need to begin to ensure that performance and accomplishment is how people need to be judged, not based on their gender.
Mhm.
That's true.
How will you spread awareness on gender equality as a professional in your field?
You will certainly spread it by becoming an example.
Mm.
Okay. If you are a female, if you are a male, or if you're other, you need to demonstrate your abilities and perform to the best of your abilities. That in itself will prove to the professional world and the rest of society that there is no discrepancy between male, female, and other. Okay.
How is gender equality funded?
Well, you have many institutions that have affirmative actions committees and affirmative actions department, which ensure the just distribution of funds. I was the chair of the behavioral sciences department, and one of the things I needed to hire many faculty members, and we were funded by the institution who had a department. However, this is where we may find and see how things go to the other extreme, because we were giving special percentages of how many women, how many African American, how many males, how many Asians, and so forth. We needed to interview and take into consideration. Unfortunately, many of the individuals that to meet the funding criteria and the distribution of percentage were not sufficiently qualified.
Mhm.
And as an experience, we ended up in my department at the college with a number of females who are actually not competent and should not be there. So it's really a performance-based issue. There are many other females that were more competent, but there was a distribution being funded by the institution. you need to have so many African-American women, so many Hispanic women, so many males, and so forth. And that can go to the extreme. So unfortunately, everything that's institutionalized, and especially in the field of social work, you will find that your biggest hurdles and battles are with institutions. When things becomes institutionalized, they become bureaucratic in nature, and the funds are misused and misspent, not meeting the target goal.
So you mentioned affirmative action, but what other organizations would be working on gender equality and gender justice?
Well, individual under the federal laws, individual institutions and company must meet those criteria and must fund those initiatives to ensure that there is just equality.
So how do you think we can expedite those laws to protect women's access to quicker financial relief on a micro level?
Well, those laws exist.
Yeah.
Those laws exist. It's the proper implementation of those laws. It's like housing opportunity and equality. Is how do you implement that in New York City? So that becomes an issue, and this becomes an issue which becomes localized by the institutions.
Well, we have one final question for you, and thank you so much for answering all our questions so thoroughly and consistent. What message would you give young men and women concerning the issue of gender justice and equality?
I would strongly recommend, especially for you folks, that you perform up to your potentials with a total disregard of gender and entitlement based on gender, because then you will be doing the same thing that was done unto you. You must demonstrate your abilities by being a functional and viable professional that you will hold high in very high respect of whatever you do. And at that point, gender really doesn't exist.
Well, thank you so much for agreeing to answer our questions and allowing us to interview you. We greatly appreciate it.
Okay, well, thank you, and I wish you all the best.